Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees, Dandavat Pranams, welcoming each one of you to today's Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So today we have His Grace Ashok Gaur Prabhu, who is with us. So he is going to share give his association to us. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for taking time off and then coming on here for sharing the nectar. So Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you,
To
Prabhu.
kindly go ahead and deliver the nectar. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनदार परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। So today we are reading from Canto 5, text, chapter 5, text 4. In the chapter Lord Rishabdev's teachings to his son. Nunam pramatha kurute vikarma yadindraya pritaya apranoti na sadhu manye yata atmanoyam asanna vikleshada asadeha. Nunam pramatha kurute vikarma यदिन्द्रिय प्रीतया आपृणोति न साधु मन्ये यत आत्मनोऽयम् असन्नपि आसदेह नूनं प्रमत्था कुरुते विकर्म यदिन्द्रियप्रीतय आपृणोति न साधु मन्ये यत आत्मनोऽयम् असन्नपि आसदेह. Word to word meaning. Noonam, indeed. Pramatta, mad. Kurute, performs. Vikarma, sinful activities forbidden in the scriptures. Yad, when. Indraya pritaye, for sense gratification. Apranoti, engages. Na, not. Sadhu, befitting. Manye, I think. Yataha, by which. Atmanaha, of the soul. I am this. Asan, being temporary. Api, although. Kleshada, giving misery. Asa, became possible. Deha, the body. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which, although temporary, is a cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. Purport. Begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said, Asango hya ayam purushaha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world. But due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in material body. Hare Krishna. So I seek the blessings of all Vaishnavas here so that I can speak appropriately from Guru Sadhu Shastra. So this is the teachings of Lord Rishabdev to his sons. So very most important teachings of Lord Rishabdev. And he's not speaking to some materialistic people because all his 100 sons, and they are actually devotees, more or less, devotees, pure devotees or mixed devotees. But the point is that, he's speaking to, devotees of the Lord. So we can take lessons from his teachings, how it is, equally important in our life. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the four principles that are actually the cause of our material bondage, the four sinful activities that are cause of our material bondage. Of course, although there are unlimited number of sinful activities, principally these four, cause material bondage. Now, killing a person, murdering a person also is sinful activity, or stealing something is also sinful activity. But uh, it does not implicate a jiva as much as illicit sex, meat eating, because you, someone kills another person, he may get freed from that reaction after he gets killed himself. But these four pillars of sinful activities are much more deep rooted, because by this illicit sex or meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, um, the we do advance booking of our existence in the material world for many lifetimes. So we continue to remain perpetually in this material world, because each of these acts, implicates us more and more in committing more sins. So that is why, it is a strong bondage. That is why it is called as hard knot, hridaya grapanti. So, Nunam pramatha kurute vikarma. There is matta, unmatta, and pramatta. So, pramatta means completely mad. And what does he do? He does vikarma. And for what sake? Yes, indriya pritaya apranoti. For the sake of priti of his indriya. So, Lord Rishabdev is saying, na sadhu manye. This is not good. Na sadhu manye yata atmanoyam. It will entangle the jiva. Asat api kleshada asadeha. Because it is asat. It is temporary, it is false, it is illusory, and it only ends up giving kleshada. It only ends up giving suffering. And perpetual material bodies, 84 lakh species of existence in this material world. Some desires may not be fulfilled in the human form, in the human body. So the jiva ends up, having to take animal body and, many other 84 lakh species. So that is why one has to be careful with, what kind of a desire, a person has, because it can easily implicate a person in materialistic existence. That's why Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Purushaha prakriti sthohi bhungte prakritir jan gunan karanam gunasangasya sadasat janma yonishu. So, bhungte prakritir jan gunan. So, all those, desires which are originating from the gunas, if we have tamasic and rajasic inclinations, then Karanam Gunasangasya Sat Asat Janma Yonishu. Then he gets implicated in, all kinds of yonis. It can be worm, insect, animal, and this and that. So, in that way, uh, just because, the material nature is offering us different varieties of facility for gratifying our senses, it does not mean that we take that offer, because along with that she is also offering us different material bodies. So that is why a human being, someone who's in the human body, he has to be very careful not to indulge in excessive sense gratification. But Bhagavatam says that bare minimum satisfaction of desires is allowed. Kama is na indriya priti labho jiveta yavata. It's exactly the opposite of this verse. It says, it is not for Indriya Priti. Kama is not for Indriya Priti, but Labho Jiveta Yavata. Just to keep the body and soul together. Because Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa Narthvescheha Karma bhi. The reason is the human body is meant for Tattva Jigyasa. So that is the reason why we have to be careful from excessively engaging in sense enjoyment. So that is why the scriptures tell us that excessive endeavor for sense enjoyment is completely forbidden, and we have to be careful about it. And Lord Chaitanya also is actually teaching about how to, renounce this world, where it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Gaurangera Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha, sorry, not Vaishnaver Pradhan. So, uh, Gaurangera Sangi Gane, I don't remember. Okay, yeah, but it says that, the associates of Lord Chaitanya are Vairagya Pradhan. So they are setting the topmost example of how to be detached and renounced from this material world. So we learn lessons from that. And in the Bhagavatam, it is said that न तथास्य भवेत् क्लेशो बन्धश्चान्य प्रसंगता योषीत् संगाद यथा पुंसो यथा तत्संगी संगता. So न तथास्य भवेत् क्लेशो. There is no greater suffering, bandhaschanya prasangata, in comparison to any other kind of suffering. The greatest suffering in this material world is originating from yoshi sangad yatha pumso yatha tat sangi sangata. It comes from yoshit sanga and also those who are connected to yoshit. That is, people who are associating with women, who think women as an object of sense gratification, and also with those men who are connected to women. Just a couple of verses before, also Lord Rishabdev was talking about, how Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Not just women, but also those who are, interested only in talking about women, who are interested in exploiting women. They are the most dangerous. They are the ones who are the pathway to hell. So one should avoid their association. Lord Chaitanya also mentions that Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanon Mukhasya Paramparam Jigamishor Bhavasagarasya Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitaam cha ha hant Vishabhakshanopya sadhu. So Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitam cha. Those who are endeavoring Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanonmukasya, those who are endeavoring in spiritual path, those who are endeavoring in bhakti, in pure devotional service, for them, association with women or association with those who are connected to women is very dangerous. Ha hanta hanta vishabhakshana sadhu. It is like taking poison. So it is going to cause destruction of our spiritual life. So one has to be very careful. And from Srila Prabhupada's teachings also, we hear how much he has stressed on avoiding illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, gambling, especially illicit sex, which is the most dangerous and very much prevalent in the current world. How the entire population is being carried away by that. We get to hear so many news in the media that people are in live-in relationships, and ultimately it ends up with one killing the other, one murdering the other. So many incidents of all this happening, because there's no question of trust. It's only question of exploitation of each other. That is one angle, and there's another angle where the population of the world is becoming more and more increasingly unnatural in their behavior, where they're drifting away from natural relationship to unnatural relationships, like LGBT. Now that LGBT has expanded into LGBTQIA plus, like that, and that plus stands for we can add more in the future. So that is what is the meaning. So this is not enough. We want more. We want different varieties of unnatural relationships. So like that, and the world is drifting away more and more. There are newer forms of illicit relationships. So Kali Yuga is heading. Although we have Lord Chaitanya in this particular Kali Yuga, we have the golden era, and we are able to see so much of degradation, and that too in the beginning of the age of Kali. And what to speak in the end of the age of Kali during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and what to speak of the other Kali Yugas when there is no Lord Chaitanya. So it would be even more dangerous, more horrible. So in Srila Prabhupada's teachings also, we hear Srila Prabhupada in one of the conversations, he speaks about this Hira Chor and Khira Chor. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining how the sexual activity is so degrading that one cannot advance in spiritual life. So he gives this example of Hira Chor and Khira Chor. Hira Chor is nothing but a diamond thief, whereas a Khira Chor is a thief who steals cucumber. Now, then he explains what it actually means. It means whether somebody engages in illicit sex or whether somebody engages in legitimate sex, both are detrimental to spiritual life. So that way, a person will never have the mercy of the Lord. So the mercy of the Lord can never come to him. So it is definitely, very much important, even within Grihastha life, how one should be completely sense controlled, or even best, even like Srila Prabhupada tells his disciples that even best is to completely stop having any sexual activity. There's one conversation of Srila Prabhupada with Father Wallace. So I think this is in New Zealand or somewhere, I'm not sure, or maybe France. So where he is asking, questions. This priest is very disturbed. He's saying, why is your movement, stopping the young from, engaging in sex? Why? What is the problem? What is wrong with sexual activity? And in the process, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how both illicit sex or legitimate sex, both are bad. And then, the father argues, saying that, why you're trying to make it like, as a taboo, because whatever God makes is all good. So when God has made it, it is all good. So why are you saying that it is all bad? And Srila Prabhupada says, that's okay. It's good for some, not for all. Just like stool is good for some, like the pigs, but not for all. So that way, Srila Prabhupada completely, smashes off his argument. So, and no other spiritual leader has spoken in depth about the most prevalent anarthas in the human society as much as Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was very vocal about it. He knew, how the living entities are, uh, entrapped in this material world because of this sinful inclination. And this, as a Bhagavatam, as I said, in the Uddhava Gita, it is mentioned that the greatest suffering comes from illicit relationship, because of which, um, it goes into a cycle, and it forces jiva to commit more and more sinful reactions. And illicit sex just does not mean that uh, it is physical. It can also be on the mental platform. It can be on the platform of the word. In Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada mentions Karmana Manasa Yacha Sarvavastu Sarvada Sarvatra Maithuna Tyago Brahmacharyam Prachakshate. So Karmana Manasa Vacha Sarva Vastu Sarvada. So in Sarva Avastha, in all circumstances, and Sarvada, that means in all time, place, and circumstance, Karmana Manasa Vacha Brahmacharyam Prachakshate. Hmm. Sarvatra Maithuna Tyago Brahmacharyam Prachakshate. So in all situations, one should give up. So the illicit, inclination is there on the mental platform, in the word format, and also it is in physical kriya. So all these things, and this is the statement made by Yajnavalkya in Yajnavalkya Samhita, where the different phases or stages of uh, you know sense enjoyment is there. So one should be careful. Karmana manasa vacha sarvavasthasu sarvada sarvatra maithuna tyago brahmacharyam chakshate. So maithuna is just not kriya, but it is also on the mental platform. It says Sridhar Swami says in the Srimad Bhagavatam purport, Srila Prabhupada gives Smaranam Kirtanam Keli Prekshanam Guhya Bhasanam Sankalpo Dhyavasayascha Kriya Nivrittir Evacha. So this Smaranam Kirtanam Keli, this is not about the Lord's holy name, glory, Smaranam and Kirtan. This is about Smaranam, and Kirtanam is about Smaranam of the woman, or Kirtanam about women, or Prekshanam Guhyavasanam. That is, playing around, indulging in loose talk, Guhyabhashanam, and lustfully looking at them and impressing them, being very soft towards them while being harsh at others. Then Sankalpo Dhyavasayascha. So deciding, trying to engage in a sexual activity. And Kriya Nivrittarevacha. And finally engaging. So that way, these are different stages. So this is not just only for brahmacharis or sannyasis, but these teachings are equally applicable to everybody in all the ashrams. And so very much important even for the grihasthas. So even in the 11th canto, there are the 24 gurus mentioned by Lord Dattatreya, where he is talking about all the different gurus in the nature. He's seeing them, and he's talking about learning a lesson from each of these gurus. And very interestingly, the lesson that is learned from all these 24 gurus is about control. It's about the control of senses only. So, like we have this Vacho Vegam, Manasaha, Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udara Aupastha Vegam. So these are the Vegas. So these are the forces. And these 24 gurus, they actually talk about controlling of these Vegas, basically control of the senses. This is primary a lesson that a person needs to learn from, you know, from his Shiksha gurus, whatever, we see around, and we are considering something or someone as a guru, then we are learning, how to control our senses. So very interesting. I just want to quickly go through that. So in the 24 gurus, we have the first 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So from earth, we are learning the quality of tolerance. So the tolerance is a quality which is nothing but basically control of the manovega. So mind is very stubborn, very agitated, and does not want to control. But from the element earth, we learn how to tolerate. So toleration is the control of the mind. So that is manovega. Then we have water. Water, the quality of water is purification. So we are in touch with pure souls, great saintly persons, so that we purify ourselves. So that way, we learn the equality of trying to be in satsanga, hmm, uh, just like water which purifies anything which comes in its contact. Then there is fire. Fire actually burns and purifies. The quality of fire is that, it has the burning principle. It burns our anarthas and purifies us. So we have to be again in touch with fiery, devotees who are pure like fire, who can burn our anarthas. So this is the quality that we learn. Then from air we learn how not to mix. Asangohya ayam purushaha. The jiva should not be mixing with the material nature. He should always consider himself as different from material nature. We are not this body. We are not this five elements body. So we learn this from the air, that the jiva should know that he should not mix with um, the material element. Basically, he should not identify himself with the material element. In that sense, the air does not mix with uh, the aroma. The example given is that air does not mix with the aroma. It only carries the aroma. Like Bhagavad Gita says, Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyutkramtishvaraha grihitvaitani sanyati vayur gandhani vashet. So Vayu carries the gandha. Vayu does not have bad smell or good smell. Vayu is always neutral. It only carries the bad smell or good smell when it goes over a rose garden or over a mori or something like that. In the same way, the jiva has no relationship with the material world, but he is, you know, trying to identify himself with the matter, which he should not. He should know very well that he is not that. So we learn this from air. And from ether also, it's the same. So ether, uh, the example is given that of Atma and Paramatma. So Atma and Paramatma, they are existing everywhere. They do not mix with matter. So that way, we learn this quality from ether. Then there is Patanga, Matanga, Kuranga, Bringa, Meena. These are the other five gurus, where I'm sure you all have heard how from moth, the moth enters into fire and destroys itself. So it is attracted by the form of the fire. So we learn that, we should not destroy our consciousness by looking at forms that are forbidden. And then there is Matanga. Matanga is the deer. So deer is attracted by the ear. Then there is Kuranga. Kuranga is attracted by the touch of the skin. And then there is bumblebee, which is attracted, not attracted, it is attracted by the smell of the flower, the lotus flower. Where it goes, it gets entrapped. And of course, there's another lesson we learn from bumblebee. So that is Madhukara Mahasarpo. So we learn the quality of how to be, what do you call, like a Brahmara, collect, you know, essence from different places. That is living very meagerly, depending on the mercy of the Lord. Patanga, Matanga, Kuranga, Bringa, and Mean. Mean, we learn how to have control on the tongue, because the fish is, very easily attracted to any food particle, and then it gets trapped. Then we have the other gurus in the 24 gurus section. That is the sea, the moon, then the pigeon, the python, the prostitute, the honey thief, the child, the kurari bird, the arrow maker, the girl, then the serpent, the spider, and the wasp. So all of them, they are actually talking about learning of control of senses only. So when we, let's say, uh, the example of the sea is talking about how to be peaceful, how the saintly people are completely peaceful, how they are undisturbed in all situations. How their mind is prashanta. Prashanta manasam hyayenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhuta kalmasham. So how upaiti shanta rajasam, when the rajoguna is completely pacified and in control and there are no desires, then brahma bhuta kalmasham. Then he becomes prashanta manasam hyenam and he also obtains uttama sukha. Sukham uttamam. Yoginam sukham uttamam. So we learn this uh, quality of being completely controlled, prashant, like an ocean. So we learn this from. That is why this Pacific Ocean gets its name from being pacified. So Prashanta, Prashanta Mahasagar. That's how they say. And then moon. From the moon, we learn how the moon is waxing and waning. Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. So there are so much of transformations in 15 days. In the same way, we see so much of transformation in our environment. We see, the bodies are changing, they're growing, they're dwindling, they're dying, people are passing away, infrastructure is collapsing, new infrastructure is coming up. One should be very, very intelligent to understand that everything is a transformation of the material existence and I have nothing to do with. Because the jiva, the spirit soul, is completely avyayaha. It is beyond any change. It is constant. It is the same. It is eternal. And we are seeing something which is the opposite. So we have no relationship with this transformation. It is the material existence. And then there are other uh, gurus like a pigeon. From pigeon we learn, pigeon basically has excessive attachment to the family. And it laments just like the Kurari bird. Kurari bird also has the same quality like the pigeon. Uh, they are very attached to their own species, to their children, to their babies. And when they are taken away or when they are killed, they become very disturbed, very attached. And this Kurari bird makes a very horrible sound, very lamenting sound. So that way, the pigeon and the Kurari bird comes in this quality of being excessively attached to family, wife, and children, paraphernalia, wealth, everything. Then from the Python, we learn how not to endeavor and accepting whatever comes of its own accord. And then the prostitute is the next guru where, Dattatreya is talking about how the lesson learned from her is it only brings unhappiness. Illicit relationship only brings unhappiness. Desirelessness brings happiness. So asha hi param dukkham, nairasha parama sukham. So wherever there is asha, wherever there is desire, it brings great suffering. Nairasha parama sukham. Wherever there is no expectation, it brings happiness. That is why it is said no expectation is the best expectation one can have. So it is completely peaceful and brings happiness. Then we have the honey thief, who is compared to that person who steals away all the hard work and the efforts put in by the bees, and he is now going to enjoy. So in the same way, it is said that the saintly people, the brahmacharis and the sannyasis, they have the entitlement to enjoy the property which is earned with great endeavors by the grihasthas. So this also, emphasizes the fact that grihasthas are meant for taking care of the other ashramas. So that is the point we learn from the honey thief. Then from the child, we learn how to be completely carefree of any responsibilities, how to be free from anxiety. So a sadhaka should actually learn how to be completely detached from any possession and be carefree and anxiety free and depend completely on the Lord. And then the next guru is the arrow maker. The arrow maker is so busy, he's meditating on, making that arrow shaft, that when the king was walking past, he could not notice because he was so busy in his meditation on, making that arrow. So in the same way, a saintly person should be so busy in his sadhana, in his devotional service, that when great calamities come, he is not disturbed. Or when there are great dualities in his life, he is not affected by it. So that is the lesson we learn from the arrow maker. Then the next is the girl who is having only one bangle on her hand. And the lesson that we learn is, if there are two, it makes noise. So if there is one, there is no noise. It's better to live alone and practice your spiritual life rather than live together and fight and quarrel. This age is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So a few devotees come together, then, because of the rift in the false ego, we end up, insulting, criticizing, abusing. So does it mean that, we give up devotee association? We cannot. But at least, the lesson that we learn is we stay away from the materialist, and we only take association of the devotees. So that way, at least the noise will be lesser. It may not be completely noiseless, but the noise is lesser. So this is actually recommended in the age of Kali. Whereas in previous ages, yes, they lived alone and completely focused on their own sadhana. But that is impossible in the age of Kali Yuga. We cannot live alone. We live alone, and then we are sleeping in the lap of Maya. So not possible. And then there is the serpent. And from serpent, we learn the lesson of mm, what do you call the Ajagara Vritti, where the rat or the ants, they build their home, and finally the snake enters and the snake lives in that. So like that, many people endeavor, they may build up an infrastructure, and finally the devotee goes and enjoys or lives there, or uses that facility in propagating Krishna consciousness, something like that. Then we have a spider. Spider is represented by the Supreme Lord, who creates, maintains, and destroys. So spider is also known as Urna Nabhi. So from its Nabhi, it creates the web, then it consumes it after some time. So we learn this lesson, how this world is temporary, not permanent, and created and destroyed by the Supreme Lord. So one should be detached. So this is the lesson we learn. And the last guru among the 24 gurus is the wasp. So wasp always has this fear. Sorry, not the wasp. Um, yeah, correct. It's a wasp which is uh, fearful, and the lesson that we learn is, whatever emotion the wasp has, it attains a similar body in the next life. So we learn this quality of trying to maintain the consciousness carefully, focused on Krishna, so that we obtain an appropriate body at the end of this life. So we learn this lesson from the wasp, because the wasp, it is said that, in the seventh canto also it comes, Kita Peshas Kradaruddha Pudyayam Tam Anusmaran Sambrambha Bhaya Yogena Vindate Tat Swarupatam Evam Krishne Bhagavati Maya Manuja Ishware. So just by meditating on its enemy, it gets its body, that worm which is stuck in the hole of a wall. It is very fearful that it will be attacked by the insect. So when it is meditating, then it actually attains the same form which it is afraid of. It is always thinking about that, and then it in the next life it attains the same body. So that is why the consciousness during our life and at the end of our life is very important. We learn this from the wasp. So all these passive gurus, you can call them as passive shiksha gurus. From them we learn how to control our senses. Basically it talks about control of vacha vega, manasa vega, krodha vega, jihva vega, udara vega, and aupastha vega. एतान वेगान यो विषहेत धीरान sarvam apimam pratibimsa shishyat. If somebody is able to control his senses, he can even make disciples all over the world. So this is the very most important. The first step in God realization is control of senses, without which it is impossible to attain the mercy of the Lord. That is not possible. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, asayyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yadata shakyo vaptum upayataha. That means asayyatatmana yogo. Anybody who is not controlled, dushprapa iti me matihi. I am impossible to be obtained. I will not be obtained by him. I cannot give my mercy to him. But vashyatmana tu yadata shakyo vaptum upayataha. But someone who is very controlled, there is no doubt that he will attain me. So the Lord promises that somebody who is sense controlled, in due course of time, he will definitely attain. And what is the way of attaining the mercy of the Lord? Ragadvesha vimuktayestu vishayan indriyais charan. Atmavashyar vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. How to attain the prasad of the Lord? Bhagavad Gita says, one should be free from attachment and hatred. Ragadvesh vimukteshu. Then the next one is Vishayan Indriyais Charan. The sense gratification, the endeavor of the senses trying to look out for the sense objects. Vishayan Indriyais Charan. That should be Atma Vashyar Vidheyatma. It should be completely under control. The control of the senses in trying to look out for sense objects. Then prasadam adhigachati. One attains the mercy of the Lord. Then prasade sarva dukkhanam hane rasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyasho buddhir paryavatishthati. So once obtaining the mercy of the Lord, then all the miseries are completely destroyed. Hane rasyopajayate. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hane. Then prasanna chetaso hyasho buddhir paryavatishthati. So with a very peaceful, calm and sober mind, one is easily able to practice pure devotional service and go back to the kingdom of God. So that is possible only through beginning with the control of senses and obtaining the mercy of the Lord. So elsewhere also about the other things like meat eating, intoxication, one interesting thing I wanted to share. How in this Shikshamrita is a series of books written on the basis of letters written by Srila Prabhupada to his disciples. And all his disciples are asking various things, so many different topics, different subject matters, different problems. They're writing letters to Srila Prabhupada. And predominantly, the solution given in most of these letters by Srila Prabhupada is chant your 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles. Very interesting. Any problem. He gives another solution also to tackle a problem, whether it is a management problem or whether it is any problem with a devotee or it could be any other problem. First, he will, emphasize on the fact of chanting and then the regulative principles and then also give the other solution. So that actually, um, you know, emphasizes, how important is, following this 4 pillars of dharma. which avoids these four sinful activities, which are the four pillars of sin. So, yeah, so one should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in material body. So, I would like to end here. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If someone has any questions, then we can take it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So
Hare
thank you
Krishna.
so much. Thank you so much for your nectar. It was so instructive. And also you brought out the point of how it is important for us to control the senses. And that's the way we can differentiate ourselves. Otherwise, we would be in the category of Ramatha or a mad person whose primary aim is only sense gratification. And also, you covered nicely how what happens if we do that. If one is gratifying the senses, then that person keeps going further and further down. And then the aspect that the living entity has got nothing to do with the material world, but still because of conditioning, there is this inclination to enjoy materially. So that is where then the control of senses is necessary so that we are able to detach ourselves from the material surroundings and then thereby attract the mercy of the Lord. Attracting the mercy of the Lord is so important. So our endeavor is to please the Lord by sense gratification, by control of senses and not giving into sense gratification, which very clearly establishes our intention, which is to get out of the material world and then associate with Krishna. And another indication of associating with Krishna is by associating with devotees of Krishna. So nicely brought out all these points, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, yeah, so devotees, if there are any comments or questions, kindly go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Shagora Prabhu.
Krishna Dhanot Prabhuji.
Thank you for wonderful association after a long time, plus nectar, all the Siksha Gurus. Hope I'll try to practice little from this. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can you repeat this? What we learned from a python and what we learned from the snake?
Okay, so from the Python, we learn Ajagara Vritti, Mataji.
Correct. Yes, Prabhu.
Ajagara Vritti is nothing but
Mm.
you don't endeavor hard. Sorry, we don't endeavor hard for our maintenance.
Mm.
So we depend completely on the Lord and we depend on whatever comes of its own accord. Bhagavad Gita also says, Yadracha labha santushto, dvandvatito vimatsara. So like that, we learn this Ajagara Vritti from the Python. So the emphasis is on not endeavoring too hard. That is what we learn. But in the case of the serpent, we learn how the rats or the ants, they build this ant hill and then the snake enters into it and it goes and lives there happily. So in the same way, the materialistic people, they may be constructing, big infrastructures and they may not be using it. And we will, take over that and the devotees will use it in the service of the Lord. So the devotees occupy it. That is how it is mentioned in the in the 24 Gurus section. How we can see example of Srila Prabhupada itself, how the Fisher Mansion in Detroit, Michigan, where this Fisher Mansion was built by an industrialist, very rich during the 1920s or something. And it is said that all the entire mansion was worth several $1 million. And somehow Prabhupada, by trick, he got it for a very cheap price with the help of two devotees, Ambrish Prabhu and another Mataji. And in fact, all the even the bathroom, the knobs, the doors, they were all gold plated. All the paraphernalia was all made of ivory and gold and all that. So that way he got it for a very good deal. So That way, the materialists may build and endeavor very hard, but we will utilize that in Krishna service.
Thank you, Prabhu. Actually, there's a very nice book in our temple, Prabhu. 24 lessons.
Okay.
Very beautiful. 24 lessons to learn. I bought it, but I've never read it. I will do it. I'll read it.
Okay.
Yeah. Each one page, each about whatever you said. It's very
Okay.
nicely given, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu, for explaining. Dandavad Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much in explaining how to control our senses, the importance of controlling the senses to attain Godhead. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, can you explain what is meant by wasp? Wasp is our consciousness or what, Prabhu?
Wasp. Wasp is an insect. It's like
Bee.
now what can I say? If you Google wasp, you
Okay,
can
Prabhu.
see under images, what a wasp looks like.
Okay, okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, in Kannada, I don't know what is it called. It's an insect which can bite. It has a sting. It will bite. It is red in color.
Okay, okay, Prabhu. Just like ಜೇನುನೊಣ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವೆರೈಟಿ ಇದೆ ಪ್ರಭು ಆ ಥರದ್ದು.
ಇದು ನೀರ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಇರತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಕೆರೆ ಹತ್ರ,
ಹೌದು ಪ್ರಭು.
ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಹತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋ ನೀರ್ ಇರತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕೆಂಪಗಾಗಿ ಇರೋ ಒಂದು ಹುಳ.
Okay, Prabhu.
This is the one, right? Yes. This is the wasp. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. So wasp means ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿರೋದು we have to control.
ಪ್ರಭು ಕಣಜಾನ ಇದು?
ಕಣಜ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
Okay.
ಕಣಜ ಅಂತಾರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. ಹೌದು
ಪ್ರಭು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ವಾಸ್ಪ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, if you have that whatever the sense we have, we will take next birth ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ what is that exactly about our consciousness or what, ಪ್ರಭು?
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಭಾಗವತಂದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ವರ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೀಟ ಪೇಶಸ್ಕೃತರುದ್ಧ ಕುಡ್ಯಾಯಾಮ್ ತಮನುಸ್ಮರನ್ ಸಂಭ್ರಮ ಭಯಯೋಗೇನ ವಿಂದತೆ ತತ್ ಸ್ವರೂಪತಾಂ. ಒಂದು ಹುಳ ಇರತ್ತೆ, ಹುಳನ ಈ ಕಣಜ ಅದನ್ನ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂತಂದು ಒಂದು ಗೋಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಮೂಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಪಾಯ್ಸನ್ ತರ ಇರತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಗ ಆ ಹುಳ ಹೆದರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮುಂದಿನ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಹುಳಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಕಣಜ ಜನ್ಮ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ. In the same way that a devotee or a jivatma, if our consciousness is about something else, we end up taking that birth. If we are only thinking about our dog or cat or our neighbor or our family or our children, then we end up taking birth among them or them only. So it is better to evam krishne bhagavati maya marja ishware. So that is why it is said that one should always try to remember the Lord and always think about him, then we attain. ಯಾವ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, just like these 5 devotees, ಗೋಪ್ಯ ಕಾಮಾತ್ ಭಯಾತ್ ಕಂಸೋ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದ್ವೇಷಾತ್ ಗೋಪ್ಯ ಕಾಮಾತ್ ಭಯಾತ್ ಕಂಸೋ ದ್ವೇಷಾತ್ ಚೈದ್ಯ ದಯೋ ನೃಪಃ ಸಂಬಂಧ ವೃಷ್ಣಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಾದ್ ಯೋಯಂ ಭಕ್ತ್ಯಾ ಸ್ವಯಂ ವಿಭು. ಸೊ ಗೋಪಿಯರು, ಕಂಸ, ಶಿಶುಪಾಲ್, ಪಾಂಡವರು, ನಾರದ, ವೃಷ್ಣಿ ವಂಶರು, ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಭಗವಂತನ ನೆನೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. They all remembered the Lord in different forms, like one out of anger, another out of love, another out of bhakti, another out of hatred, another out of envy. But they all attained the same thing, that is liberation. So the remembrance of the Lord is important. So that remembrance we learn from how, remembering the wasp, we get the body of a wasp. Same way we remember Krishna and we attain Krishna's. So we attain the form very similar to Krishna. We don't become Krishna, we become similar to Krishna's form. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhu, thank you so much once again for the wonderful class. and thanking all the devotees for joining. If it is okay, if there are no more questions, then we can end the session today.
Sure.
So, Guruji, you want to do the Vaishnava pranams?
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपा
कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare
And I'll end the meeting for everyone. Have a wonderful day.